Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on our YouTube account and we're going to be breaking down the guide from Rockoday and Arkman that really show us the progression in the breakdown when it comes to the Highborne Draconic heroes. Now these heroes are by far, really by far and away, the most expensive heroes that we have within AFK Arena, and the way that you build them and the methodology and the height that you build them to is going to make a really big difference on your performance on the accounts. So let's hop over. I want to check out this guide and show you the breakdown that we have here within these heroes. So here we are, guys. Draconic Highborne Investment and Priorities. Again, big shout out to Rockoday and Arkman for putting these out. What are the Highborne Draconic Insignia summons, lucky with scrolls and special events, or how you can actually acquire them? Why are they so valuable? Right now, they are the toughest heroes to acquire, and they can really have a huge change in direction, like they kind of mentioned in your accounts right here. Building the wrong Highborne can set you back months. Now, in the account, in the YouTube account, since Highborne Draconic heroes have come out, we have only built out Gwen, we have built out Hildwin, which was absolutely free, and we have also built out Lan. Those are the only three that we built. Now, Gwen, of course, we built when she was brand new, when she first came out. But where does she sit today? Let's go ahead and look through this. So looking at Gwen today, and it's awesome because the way this is broken down gives you literally everything that you need within here. You can see we have the summary, was the first Highborne Draconic hero to be released. Her and Hildwin did come together. Ranger, strength, continuous damage. Rank is average as it sits right now. Looking at the build, signature item, furniture, engraving, all of them good, very good. Now, of course, with her being a ranger, it is about the stats that she possesses, makes a huge presence in really the utility of it. You can even see over here when it comes to the collections, these are built out as well. I will put a link down below in the guide so you can definitely check it out. But you can see we have the Thane collection. It has almost in the entirety replaced every collection that we have up to this date, including the new collections that came out. Then, of course, we do have the Halia collection. And you can see right here the big thing that we have with the crit and crit damage amplification on these collections. Advanced furniture, good, average. So if you are building out a little bit, now my recommendation right now on Gwen, do not build her out. She's in, I believe, one or two very niche formations. Overall, not seeing utility. And even looking here in the usage rate, this is something to definitely note. Treasure scramble, very low. Overall presence, very low. So with her being one of the first Highborne Draconic heroes that were released, she was best in slot in a lot of different formations. At this point, unfortunately, it is not worth building Gwen at all. Then we get into Hildwin. This is an interesting one because even though he is an intelligence mage, he plays a lot more of the support role. Right off the bat, you can see he's pretty average overall. In Treasure Scramble, he is still very good. He is being used. Nightmare Corridor, he is not seen. And then the Curse Realm is very low for the reason when it comes to the Curse Realm, he's only in, I think, one formation, maybe two formations that he is still in. I feel like, again, with this being the first Highborne Draconic heroes that were released, really makes a difference. Now, other investments in collections, you can see right in here that we do have the new Zafiro collection or the Mage collection that is prevalent in there. Really building out a lot more insight for the crowd control in here. Also looking at the full attack, most of the time being built in there because he does play that support role. Even though he has continuous damage, it seems like overall support role. And then overall presence average, because again, if you have him, because you can get him free to play, it's very easy to get. Now he is going to make a couple different places where he's going to have a lot more utility, which of course, when you start looking at the Dragonforge Spire and being able to go into the trials and use him, that's going to make a big difference because you can get him for free now out of the guild store, which I highly recommend getting him out of there. Going in and doing summons for him, I would not at all. There's absolutely no reason to go in there, no reason to spend your insignias to go in there and actually build him out and summon him that way. The way that you're going to get this hero as it sits today, if you did not get the free copies in the AFK Arena, is you're going to get him out of the guild shop. It's going to be a very slow build. But overall, if there ever comes a time that we are able to swap heroes, he might be one that you can swap in the future. So that is yet to be seen. Then we get into Lan. Now, when it comes to Lan, support, intelligence, buffer, you can see top tier right here. And you'll notice in the usage, and I love this because overall presence everywhere. Very high in the Treasure Scramble, very high in the Curse Realm, absolutely mandatory in the Nightmare Corridor. This is the reason why when it comes to Highborne Draconic heroes, Lan is still the one to build. Now overall, Lan buffs according to her attack rating. So when you're building her out and you're getting the attack rating a lot higher, it is going to really go with the attack rating 99% of the time. Or if you have full attack, if that is what is given out of the collection. Over here, you can see we do have Tassie's collection, Rowan's collection, and then we do have the new collection in there. Don't know the overall utility with it when it comes to Rain's collection. Advanced furniture, very good and average, even as the engraving nodes over here where to take her above the 60 engraving. Super important to have her. And again, it's kind of crazy how broken this hero is within AFK Arena and the utility we're seeing with Lan. That is also the reason why I did personally build out Lan, and Lan is top tier, plus 40 signature item top tier, 9 of 9 furniture is top tier, even the 30 and the 60 are average. Now, 30 and 60 engraving are not really mandatory in every single section. The big part that we get with the engraving is, of course, the Treasure Scramble. The PvP aspect makes a really big difference to cleanse debuffs and inflict damage, but overall, she's not a big damage dealer, but it's going to make a big difference if you're building her out for the PvP aspect in there. Definitely want to focus on and want to build out Lan. As it sits today, that is going to be one of the big priorities. Then we get into Skylan. Now, Skylan is another one where Dexterity Ranger, continuous damage, you can see right here, a top tier. Now, Skylan does require a pretty big build out. You can see plus 40 signature item, 9 of 9 furniture, 60 engraving. Overall, a very big build. Treasure Scramble, absolutely mandatory. Now, one thing to note is if you do not have Skylan like I do, the substitute for Skylan, if you do not have him where he's mandatory in the Treasure Scramble, is going to be the Awakened version of Iran. That is going to be the substitute for these formations. So if you do not have him, because overall, you can see Nightmare Corridor very low, and then Cursed Realm, he is very high. Still a lot of formations that you can see him within the Cursed Realm. One key thing to note with the Cursed Realm is every single week I do Merc Leviathan and I do Merc Skylan. So I have both of them in formations that I have the ability to actually Merc and use. So again, if you're not focused really on the Treasure Scramble, which you absolutely should be because of the rewards that it yields, Nightmare Corridor, again, not used, but Treasure Scramble is a place. Unfortunately, you cannot use Merc heroes in there. You cannot use mercenaries. So you're going to have to build them yourself. Now, noticing in the collection, this is also right back to that Thane collection. Advanced furniture, very good in a multitude of places. And they have the extra engraving notes in here. Then we get into Halia. Now, overall, she was shortly after Skylan was released, and Warrior Strength ranked very good. But overall, she has been in kind of a niche spot since we've seen her. Good enough to be used some places, but dropping out of formations or replaced in formations pretty consistently because there was such a large overlap from players trying to build Skylan and then her being released. It was very hard to build both of them. You can see a lot of her signature item and furniture and also the engraving are very good. 60 engraving in here is bad, but you'll notice average in the Treasure Scramble, Nightmare Corridor being used for that burst damage. Overall presence is high. And then you do have Zora's collection, Isolde's collection, and Source's collection in here as well when it comes to Halia. Then we look at the tank. So getting into Leviathan, Leviathan is a tank strength and shielding, now top ranked, top tier hero here. The reason being, not only does he provide the tanking aspect, but when you start building him up and looking at the signature item, top tier across the board because it is adding attack and defense, which is huge. Also permanently caps at 70%. That's right. So even though he is a tank, he's really a huge hero that is focused on the buffing aspect that we have within AFK Arena. Any team that he's going to be put in, he is going to do a lot more damage. That's why Treasure Scramble, mandatory, Nightmare Corridor, average, Cursed Realm, very high, landing him in that very high position, meaning that looking even engraving, looking at 30 and 60 do work well. Furniture, of course, both mostly PvP aspects in there, but we are seeing him kind of mandatory in a couple different places, especially the shielding and the survival aspect that we do need and what we do see within the Treasure Scramble. Now looking in here, it is all based on health. So runs a very A very similar collection, scales with HP, very similar to the Awakened version of Chimera. Works incredibly well, but you can pick also full attack, a good option in there to buff up and further buff what we have going on within these game modes. Now, priorities. This is the important part. When it comes to priorities, you want to pick up Lan. That is going to be the very, very first one. Then you can see we have Leviathan in here, which is equal to Skylan. Now, like I had said earlier, if you're going in here and you have that Awakened version of Iran built out, I would absolutely go with Leviathan. If you do not, if you do have the Awakened version of Iran. Now, if you don't have Iran at all, you don't have Skylan out of here, I would probably build out Skylan. And I think that's what he kind of notes right here, is if you do not have Iran, it is going to be Lan, and then it is going to be Skylan. If you do have Iran, it's going to be Lan, then it is going to be Leviathan to build. And again, the substitution for Skylan is that Awakened version of Iran. Then we also have Halia in here, and then of course Hildwin, and unfortunately the Draconic hero, Draconic version of Gwen right here. Now looking Skylan over Leviathan, they're pretty equal in the Nightmare Corridor. Cursed Realm, Leviathan is over Skylan. Now remember this, because like I had said earlier, let's say for instance you do build Skylan, you can actually go through, and for these other game modes, the Nightmare Corridor and the Cursed Realm, you can merc Leviathan or vice versa, where if you go in here and you do build Leviathan out, then you can go ahead and you can merc Skylan, not for the Treasure Scramble, but you can merc Skylan for the Nightmare Corridor, and you can also merc him for the Cursed Realm, meaning that you can go in there and you can use copies that you have of the hero, or borrow copies of the hero if you do not have them built. Now, RGM focus, you can see top 100 in the Treasure Scramble is your priority. Then you're looking at Nightmare Corridor and the Cursed Realm. And then, of course, just really pushing the envelope and getting into those lower levels, getting into the 200. And it makes a big difference, guys. If you're not building these Highborne Draconic heroes, they are, again, the most expensive heroes that we do have in AFK Arena. And that is the reason why so many players are building them out, and the sheer cost. Now we know when it comes to insignias, it's very, very hard because of the cost of Draconic insignias. Even here, we're sitting at almost 500. You need about 700 Draconic insignias to get a hero built up, because even if you get them to Ascended, you still have to pull 3 more copies to get that Ascended with 1 star to add the engraving in there and really making it worthwhile. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.